My name is Airan Berg, and I would like to thank Ugo for inviting me to say a few words to the opening of Artlab 2010. So welcome to Artlab 2010, and I'm very excited about the program and especially the connection of arts and culture with development in our society. I have been artistic director for the performing arts for the European Cultural Capital in 2010 and artistic director of the Schauspielhaus, a wonderful theater in Vienna before that. And one of the focuses of my work has always been to break down barriers between elite arts and culture and society and developments in society, and without compromising the quality of artistic work. I think that is the most important thing, because I live and work a lot in the German-speaking world, and in our part of the world, artists who work with minority groups, with people with disabilities, with social networks, they're not considered artists, and that is a grave injustice. And I think by placing these kind of artists and the work they do in the center of our artistic work, in big festivals, in cultural capital years, we create an atmosphere which allows to do it. And this is something we must do. So as artistic managers, artistic directors, it is also your possibility and your responsibility, I feel, to engage with artists who open your institutions and your festivals in different forms to different communities. Now, in the Schauspielhaus in Vienna, we founded a program we called Hunger for Arts and Culture, which allowed people who live below the poverty line to engage in cultural events and to visit our theater. But it was the other audience that could afford it that bought the tickets for them. But it was not about stigmatizing them and telling them to wait and only giving them tickets for shows that don't sell, but inviting them to come whenever they wish and to use the Hunger for Arts and Culture Pass as like an American Express card. You show it and you get a ticket, and somebody else pays for it. And it was integrating people who used to be part of our cultural life but who drop out of it because they lose their jobs. When we started this program in 2002, the Schauspielhaus was the only artistic institution, and we worked together with social networks and the employment agency, the National Employment Agency, and now, not even 10 years later, there are over 180 social institutions and over 100 artistic institutions who use this project, Hunger for Arts and Culture, to reach out to people. Also, what is very easy to do is to invite people to your theater through offering special services for people who are hearing impaired or who are seeing impaired. So it's not only for theaters, but museum, all artistic institutions and festivals can easily do things like that and open their gates to people who are interested and hungry for arts and culture, but often feel excluded. As artistic director of the Cultural Capital Year in 2009 in Linz in Austria, I was responsible for the performing arts, but it was we were four artistic directors, and we were all four quite clear that that we are cultural capital and not just a pure arts capital, and it is our job and our responsibility to place culture in the lives of people in a very different way. So we engaged in a lot of programs, again without compromising artistic quality, and working with fantastic artists to open up a dialogue between artistic institutions, cultural institutions, mainstream festivals, and a big event as the Cultural Capital Year, to have a different dialogue with the city. So some of the projects that we did I'd like to mention here, because I think they can be exemplary in what we were doing. A major project that we did was in schools. We invited artists to work in schools to create a project of creativity and education. So it was not about the art, but it was about the future. It was about how can artists engage in social change and in the change of the academic system, because we say that creativity should be just as important as literacy in our education system, and it is the artists that took that responsibility and worked for 8 weeks in the schools in the entire region. We also did a big Creativity and the City project where we invited 1,000 volunteers to build and move the creatures that were designed for this production, and to take pride in one of the biggest events that is usually just a kind of empty event through their own participation. And fitting in with the theme of Artlab 2010, which also looks at the inclusion of people with, some say, special skills, people with various kinds of disabilities, or what we did there was a festival in Linz, a newly found festival for theater made with people with disabilities. But for me, I found that I was very interested in working with them, but at the same time I did not want to make a weekend or a week of a festival for people with disabilities, because I'm against the notion of the ghettoization of theater forms and the ghettoization of kind of minority art forms or theater forms. If I would be mean, and I was when I was discussing it with them, I don't want to have a weekend where we go look at cripples do theater, just to make the point come across in a strong way. So what I did was I invited the people responsible for that festival to engage with us in all our programs and to include the work of artists who work with people with disabilities, or in integrative companies, people with and without, or so-called without disabilities, so-called normal people, to engage in that and to include that in our everyday artistic, creative, cultural life. So it's not an extra thing, a ghetto thing. It is, you can see it in a festival. You go to a theater festival and some productions are wonderful and they work with people with disabilities. We also created new work with theater companies from the area, inviting wonderful international artists from as far away as Australia to create a new work and to perform it in public space, to create a bigger awareness to the fact that there are people who have special needs in our society, but they are just as creative, just as talented, and just as important to be worked with, and the work that they do can have a quality and that goes beyond social work. So this is something we can do, relatively easy actually. It just means breaking down barriers and ways of thinking that are old and useless for the 21st century with the knowledge that we have today, and that I feel that you as artistic managers, it is also part of your responsibility, and that you can do it. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's not about the money. It's about putting arts and culture back in the center of life of people in our society, in spite of or disregarding minority thinking or disability thinking, because in the end arts and culture comes out of the community, and we have to place it back in the center of the community, which it lost when it moved into these high elitist and high-end upper bourgeois or bourgeoisie temples and closed the door to other parts of our society.